Shannon if she's not in here already, but hopefully she'll be popping in here shortly too. But I just wanted to say thank you to everybody for tuning into our session today. This is the virtual information session for our clinical and school counseling program here at Lenoir-Rhyne University. So if you are in the wrong Zoom session, now's your time to leave, but you are welcome to stay and learn more. My name is Nichole Siemering. I'm sure some of you have received emails from me, or maybe I've talked with you on the phone already. But I am one of the graduate enrollment counselors here at Lenoir-Rhyne. So I work specifically with our Hickory and Columbia counseling students that are applying to our programs. My office is located here on our main campus in Hickory. I haven't been down to Columbia in a while due to the pandemic, but I certainly work with those students as well. I also have several other programs that I work with, including Human Services, MBA, Criminal Justice Leadership, and online teaching and instructional design. So counseling is one of my favorite programs, not that I'm biased, but I love working with our counseling applicants because I am a counseling student myself. I'm on the downhill stretch of the counseling program. I'm in our school counseling track, and I'm finishing up my practicum this semester and soon to be finishing my internships. So I certainly, have that, working for Lenoir-Rhyne as an enrollment counselor, I have that perspective, but also the perspective of being a student as well. So at the end of this session, I'm happy to talk with y'all about my experience as a student, but that's just a little bit about myself. And we also have my colleague, Jan Wolff, on this session, who's been speaking with us. She is on our Asheville campus, and I'll let her introduce herself as well. But we also have 3 of our counseling faculty here with us today to give you a good overview of the program. And kind of just touch base on the differences between the campuses and the environments that we offer here at Lenoir-Rhyne. So we have Dr. Jordan, Dr. Czerny, and Dr. Robinson. So they will certainly give you a little insight on the program itself. And so I'll let y'all introduce yourselves before we get started. So Jan, if you'd like to introduce yourself first, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everybody. So I've met some of y'all before, but it's good to see some of y'all again and just to talk to some of y'all again too. And I've just put in chat that while this is kind of going on, if y'all will just sort of enter your name and just what it is that you want to get from the program, if you're in school counseling or clinical mental health counseling, where you're coming from. And so we have a good range here in terms of ages and places where people are from. So I just always like to see that. So if y'all will do that, and then, yeah.
Thank you, Dan. I guess either Dr. Jordan, Dr. Czerny, and I think hopefully Dr. Robinson is on here, if not yet, but I'll let y'all introduce yourselves now.
Thanks, Nichole. Yeah, I'm Dr. Myra Jordan. Dr. Jordan, Dr. J is what students often call me. I am one of the 2 full-time faculty based at the Asheville campus. I've been at Lenoir-Rhyne full-time since 2014 and really enjoyed watching the program grow, actually across all 3 campuses, but specifically here at the Asheville campus. I'll say my teaching and research passions are really around diversity issues and multicultural counseling, though I most frequently teach the diversity class, our counseling theories class, and usually our practicum class, but I'm not able to teach it this semester because of such a large fall group that we've got. Anyway, I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to answer any questions that y'all have about the program in general, about the Asheville campus more specifically, and just excited to see so much interest. So welcome.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Astra Czerny, and I am an assistant professor in the counseling program on the Hickory campus. I'm a little bit newer to the program. I started in the fall of last year, so I've been here just over a year. And I generally teach techniques and advanced techniques and the group class. And I also teach the trauma elective. So hopefully I'll see all of you in one of those. And let's see, in terms of my research interests, I have a real strong interest in working with clients who have complex trauma. And I do a lot of work with women around empowerment and how that looks for each individual person. And I have a very, very small part-time private practice here in Hickory as well. And I'm also, just like Dr. Jordan, very excited to see so many of you here today and look forward to speaking with you and answering any questions you might have about our program.
All righty, well, thank you to you both. And I might need to scroll through, but is Dr. Robinson on yet, Jan? Did you see her pop in? Not yet, okay. Well, she might be popping in later, but Dr. Robinson is our counseling faculty member on our Columbia campus. I think she's been with us about, gosh, is this her second year, maybe going on third, that she's been with our Columbia campus, and she is wonderful to work with and is really supportive of our students there. And so hopefully she'll be coming in and then we can talk with her a little bit about that. But if she doesn't make it today, certainly any students interested in Columbia, I will be glad to connect you with her. In that way you can set up a Zoom with her as well. So how we kind of run these sessions, we try not to take too much of your time, try to keep it at an hour, but sometimes, you know, it can go over. So I certainly, you know, if you're on your lunch break and have to go back to work or, you know, whatever you have going on, you're welcome to leave the session when you need, or, you know, leave and come back in if you need to as well. But since we have so many people on these sessions, you know, we kind of structure them in, you know, keeping yourself muted as we're going through the information, but certainly if you have a question, feel free to use the chat box, or you can unmute yourself and ask. We encourage you to do that. But just for background noise purposes, you know, keeping yourself muted as we go through the information. But normally we will kind of open it up for Dr. Robinson, Dr. Czerny, and Dr. Jordan to give kind of an overview of the program itself, give you some of that information to start out. And then towards the end of the session, that's where Jan and myself will go over anything that you need to know about the application process, admissions, financial aid. So really any of those application specific questions that you have, just know that we'll go over that information at the end. But for time's sake and to be respectful of our faculty's time here, we like for them to kind of go over the program itself and give an overview of that starting out. And that way y'all can ask any questions as well that you have about the program up front, and then we'll kind of go into that information about admissions later on, because many of you might be in very different stages of the application process. If you've started that process, some of you might just simply be inquiring. So, and some of you might have been accepted already. So just feel free, if you're one of those students that you've been accepted and you've already heard some of the admissions information, you don't have to stick around for that, but we welcome you to if you'd like. So Dr. Jordan, Dr. Czerny, and then I think I saw Dr. Robinson pop in. So if y'all would like to just kind of give an overview of our program, and then we can kind of open it up for students to ask questions that they have.
Why don't we let Dr. Robinson introduce herself first, and then I can dive back in.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good to see such a nice turnout. It changed. I'm sorry. Just the view changed. I'm like, wait a minute, did I do something? Okay. Good to see everyone. I'm Dr. Janelle Robinson. So I am the program coordinator and assistant professor for the Columbia campus. So I'm sure you guys know that and if you don't, we have 3 different campuses. We're the same program, but we just have 3 different campuses. And so I'm over the Columbia campus. And so the information that we'll give will be the same. It doesn't matter what campus you're at. So I think Dr. Jordan will go into that a great deal. But if anybody, I'll make sure that you guys have my email address. You'll have all of our email addresses. So if you have specific questions about just like the Columbia campus and this program here, feel free to shoot me an email. But nice to meet everybody.
Thanks, Dr. Robinson. Like Dr. Robinson said, we're one program just across 3 different campuses. And honestly, going virtual with COVID has really, I feel like it's really joined us even more, that we've had the opportunity to work with students across campuses quite a bit more than we had historically. Even as much as we tried before, it's really stepped it up because of everything being virtual, which I think has added a lot of richness to our program over the past couple of semesters. And hopefully that feel will continue even when we get back in the classrooms and are more campus-based. Our program is 61 credit hours, KCREP accredited, both tracks. Let's see, the school counseling track isn't available on the Columbia campus yet, but it is on the Hickory and the Asheville campuses. We do have, I noticed someone in the chat box mentioning wanting to do both tracks. That's a unique offering of our program, that folks can declare their primary track and then take additional coursework to be license eligible in both tracks. It's 1 degree, but you meet the educational requirements for both tracks. And that makes it a 67 credit hour program to do both. If it's kind of a long story, but that's how it happens, or that's the big picture of that. Let's see, depending on our advising process is really geared toward making this doable for students. As far as how many classes you take at a time is based on your unique needs and schedules. Most students, I would say, take 2 classes at a time. So 2 in fall and spring, 2 in summers. And if you go that route, our program takes a total of 10 semesters to complete, which winds up being about 3.5 years. If you wanted to do it at a more full-time pace, and just to clarify, two classes per semester is full-time for federal loans, but part-time in our program language, and more manageable to do with full-time work or other family responsibilities. But if you are used to being a full-time student and you don't have a lot of other personal responsibilities, work responsibilities, and wanted to do 3 classes at a time in fall and spring and 2 in the summers, you can be done with our program in as short as, I would say, about 8 semesters is about as quick as it can be done, which winds up being 2.5 years-ish. Depending on when you start. All of our classes pretty much are offered in the evenings, Monday through Thursday. All of the classes for the spring will be fully virtual with a combination, depending on the class, of synchronous and asynchronous offerings. We're trying to maintain the feel of our face-to-face focus while also adapting to the needs of our students and ourselves and keeping everyone safe. I feel like that's been going pretty well for us so far, so we're just sticking with that. Let's see. I don't know. I'm trying to think. Part of the 61 credits is, I mean, there are some very specific, all of our coursework matches the requirements of KCREP, so it's a pretty well structured and mapped out process that we go through with you of helping you figure out what to take when. There are 2 electives that are they're required electives where you get to choose based on what's offered, some coursework that's more specifically geared toward your personal and professional interests. So even though we're a generalist program where you would be exposed to the breadth of what our field offers, we do encourage students to choose electives based on their interests and also gear particular projects and papers based on your career goals. So there is room to tailor the program, even though we don't offer official concentrations or certifications outside of licensure and supporting the licensure process. You can really gear the program toward niche interests in that way. Oh no, Nicole and Jan, anything I'm missing? Dr. Czerny, Dr. Robinson, anything you want to add?
I do, somebody had asked about this in chat, and it is something that we get a lot, is why get a clinical mental health counseling degree as opposed to social work? Yeah.
Yeah, sure. The way that I talk about that is that basically at the end of the day, that you as a licensed clinical mental health counselor could have your work day, once you're fully licensed, could look literally exactly the same as a licensed clinical social worker. The key difference is in the training that you're getting. And if you compare the training programs and the coursework in a Master's of Social Work program and a Master's of Counseling program, you I think across the board will see significantly more skills-based courses in a Master's in Counseling program versus a social work program. So if you see yourself doing clinical work of doing counseling with clients, one-on-one, groups, couples, families, you can do it with either degree, but that the training that you will get in a counseling program is more geared toward those clinical skills than what you would get in a Master's in Social Work program, where that kind of training happens more, from my understanding, in the after graduation while you're working towards licensure. In a counseling program, it starts much earlier. So it depends on identity and what you want to do down the line and what you're looking for as far as training goes. Oh, that is a really common question, so I'm glad you asked that, Anne. Benefits and advantages of the Asheville camp. I can speak to that one. Asheville campus versus Western's Biltmore Park programs is, I'm biased. I want to own that right off the bat. Western has a really strong program as well. So I in no way would want to speak poorly of their program. It's a really great program too. Theirs is, from my understanding, primarily cohort-based, where all students go full-time and you stay with the same group of students over the course of your time in the program. Ours has a lot more flexibility schedule-wise, and where you could start with 2 if you have a really busy semester. In other areas of life, you could drop down to 1, or if you have an open semester, you could step up to 3. So there's more flexibility that way. I'm not sure, but I think the time of day when our classes are offered is also more conducive to working alongside school. It doesn't really matter right now with COVID, but our campus is right downtown. I've heard one of the biggest differences I've heard people talk about, which seems really petty, but is parking. That it's a lot easier to park for free at our Montford location, and you walk right up into the building, versus, I guess, at the Biltmore Park location, you park in a garage and sometimes have to walk through the rain. I know that's super silly. I really think the biggest difference is the cohort-based model that they have. We are not cohort-based, meaning you can take the pace that works for you. And as the product of only cohort-based models, I was a little nervous about what that would mean for the cohesion and the community of our students, thinking that maybe it would lead to this feel of like students just showing up and then leaving and not being connected. And I've actually found the opposite, that our students, because they're taking classes with students who started a semester or 2 or 3 before they did, and then later on with students who are newer into the program, there's actually I witness more cohesion across starting cohorts that aren't actually cohorts, but starting groups. That's really neat to see, where instead of getting close with just the 20-ish folks that you start with, you actually have the opportunity to develop relationships with folks more like 50 to 60 other students across different semesters.
And that's something that I feel like I can speak to as a student myself. And one of the really big benefits that I've found of our program, and something I really appreciated about our program, because when I started, I was working part-time. I started with that full-time course load of 9 credit hours or 3 classes at a time. And I was able to manage it. I mean, there's times in the semester, of course, that are more stressful than others. But that was a pretty good balance. But then during the program, life changed, and I got hired working full-time for our office here at LR. And I was taking 3 classes and working 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, and it was a lot. And some people, I mean, are able to manage that and do really well. But for me personally, at that time, I was like, okay, I need to readjust something. And so having the flexibility in our program, I was able to kind of bump my course load down to 2 classes while working full time. And that seemed to be a really great fit for me. And so I appreciated having that flexibility in the program. So that's just from a personal experience being a student and working full time. That flexibility is definitely appreciated. Do we have any other questions? I know it's a little awkward to speak out on a big group or in a big group on Zoom, but and then also Dr. Czerny or Dr. Robinson, if there's anything y'all would like to add to that. But let's see, I think there was a question in here. Okay, I think there's some questions about being accepted to the program and what your next steps are. And so we'll go over that information, but just briefly with a timeline with the application process. Once you've gone through the process and all of your items are submitted and everything's good to go, we try to process applications within 10 to 12 business days and get that admissions decision back to you pretty quickly. But we'll go over that here in a little while.
As far as registering for spring classes, Jan and Nicole have the information about the classes that you should register for when that time comes. And then once that's for spring, and then once you're in the program, within the first month or so of the program, you'll set up a one-on-one meeting with your academic advisor, which will be one of the core faculty based on your campus. And we will go over with you what we call our advising grid, which outlines just a really clear picture of what your time in the program will look like as far as which classes go where. And that also gives us a framework for if you decide to move up to 3 classes or drop down to 1, what that means for your overall plan. That's a working document that we can change over time, but helps give us all a clear sense of what to expect. And that happens, again, really quickly once you're in, but we don't want to overwhelm you with that until you're here. We'll just get you set with what you need for spring, and then completely overwhelm you with lots of great information about the rest of the program. So.
All right, y'all, maybe the differences between the different campus programs and things. It's always good to kind of see. So. Dr. Robinson, yeah, just one of y'all, yeah. So anybody, just jump in. I know.
Been here the longest, so I can dive in, but maybe Dr. Robinson, if you want to talk about Columbia specifically, and then I'll jump in too.
And so I think when we're talking about differences, because like Dr. Jordan said, we're the same program. So academically, there's not differences. No matter what campus you're on, you take the same classes. We do not have a school counseling track on the Columbia campus. So I guess if anything, programmatic speaking, that's going to be the biggest difference. And we have the school counseling track in Hickory and in Asheville. So even if if some of you guys are in Columbia and you're interested in school counseling, we can still make it work. That's just another conversation we'd have to have. I mean, that's the biggest difference programmatically. I am the only faculty member here in Columbia, so I guess that's another difference. Whereas in Asheville, you have Dr. Finfausen and Dr. Jordan, and then you have 4 faculty, I think, Dr. Czerny. I think there's three other faculty with Dr. Czerny and Hickory. So those are the main differences. And then other than that, I think that it's just the city itself. Right? I mean, I think the city and the makeup of the city is the main difference. And so I don't know who's familiar with Columbia or Asheville or Hickory, but that's the biggest difference, is that the cities are extremely different. So I'm not from Columbia, so I just got here last year. Dr. Czerny and I are the newbies here. We got here at the same time. And so I've been to Hickory like 2 or 3 times. I haven't gone to Asheville yet, but just recognizing some of the differences in diversity, just some of the differences in size. And so what I can say of Columbia is that it's a, moderately sized city. And there are, of course, other programs, and we're not talking about those other programs, but there are other programs here. But still, when you have a program that our classes are offered in the evening, we really market ourselves to working adults. I think the majority of our students, like Dr. Jordan said, the majority of our students work, they have children, we do have that flexibility. And so I definitely think that's what makes us stand out here in Columbia compared to other institutions that have a counseling degree. Where we're situated, just like Dr. Jordan said, no issues with parking. So, we are like north of downtown. So if anyone here is from Columbia, the Lutheran Theological Southern Seminary, if you guys are familiar with that campus, we are on the same campus, which is just down the street from Columbia College. So we're like north of downtown, but we have plenty of parking. We have a nice new building, the Health and Science building that was just built a few years ago, and that's where all of our classes are offered. So just great amenities as it pertains to that. So yeah, and so here in Columbia, there's 4 other programs here, so it's not like you're here by yourself. There's other graduate students who are also taking classes in other programs. But yeah, I think that's Columbia. I don't know if you guys want to talk about your campuses.
Thanks, Dr. Robinson. Yeah, I'll add, the Columbia campus is our newest campus, and it's our smallest program within the program, but that's because it's the newest. And so also Asheville being the second newest is actually, we're pretty close to catching up student body wise with Hickory, and trying to catch up with the number of faculty that they have in Hickory. And we've been told we've got a line open for an additional full-time faculty member starting this fall. We're really excited about that. We see that as a really good indicator of the continued growth of the program, that there's a continued growth in students that is supported by administration recognizing the need for additional faculty. Echoing what Dr. Robinson said about the culture of the program being impacted by the culture of the community in which it's based. There are cultural similarities across the campuses just because we're all part of Lenoir-Rhyne, and Lenoir-Rhyne's history with the Lutheran Church and the values that are there, I would say, are present on all 3 campuses. but we are not a creed-based institution. I would say the majority of our students on the Asheville campus are not Lutheran. I can tell you the 2 full-time faculty do not identify as Lutheran, so it's not a requirement by any means, but it does shape some of the values of the institution around service and honestly, a lot of the values that I think align really nicely with the counseling field as a whole. But the culture of Asheville and the students that tends to attract absolutely shape the culture of our program. And that's part of also the beauty of these being relatively new programs in Asheville and Columbia is our students have had the opportunity to shape the culture of the program because we're still growing, because we're still developing. That's been really cool to be a part of, honestly, as a faculty member and a human, just to see that take shape. So I will say, if you're looking for like a traditional campus feel, Hickory and Columbia are way better around that. Like when I love going to Hickory as a faculty member because it reminds me of my undergrad of just like big old buildings, beautiful trees. It's just, it feels like a university. Our campus in downtown Asheville is beautiful in its own right, but it's a graduate center and it feels that way. We have 2 floors that are dedicated to Lenoir-Rhyne. We're very proud of our space. It's a beautiful space with the best views in town. I'm biased, but they're really stellar views from my office window and you're welcome to visit when we're back on campus anytime. But that I think does sort of color the feel of the campus as well. Practicum, our requirements are based on KCREP requirements. So for practicum, which is like a mini internship, it's 100 total hours, 40 direct, 60 indirect, which we talk about later. Internship, all students are required to do a minimum of 2 semesters of internship beyond practicum. So it's 3 semesters total of field placement experience. Internship, it's 300 hours per semester.
120.
20 of which needs to be direct. Thank you, Dr. Czerny.
I'm muted. I was talking and I'm muted. Any of the faculty, y'all are welcome to, would y'all highlight on, I guess, within our curriculum, what are some of the classes and that they cover or we cover within our program, as well as any, I guess, jobs or different avenues that students have pursued once they've graduated with their counseling licensure?
I don't mind, unless Dr. Czerny, do you want to go? Okay, or I know Dr. Jordan. Okay, so Dr. Jordan is who she's been here, so she's the one that we kind of refer to. But, and I'll let Dr. Jordan, you talk about the classes, because I know you can probably say that a lot quicker than I can. But as far as like things that students have done, and so, I mean, students, and I think that's the great thing about the counseling field is sometimes it seems like there's kind of this stigma that you can only do this kind of therapy where you sit in an office and very like Freudian-like, and you sit in a chair and someone's laying down and they're just kind of talking about their deepest, darkest secrets in their life and things like that. And so, yes, you can do that if you want, but that's not the only thing that you can do in our field. And so even I think if you talk to the faculty, like Dr. Jordan, Dr. Czerny, and myself, we have all had varying experiences with our master's degrees. And even now, I know Dr. Czerny has a private practice, I believe. A lot of our faculty have private practices that they you know, still are a part of. So yeah, but students, you can go into agency work. So here in Columbia, we have students that work at LRADAC, which is an addictions facility. We have students that work with the Department of Social Services in the state of South Carolina. We have students that have gone into mentoring, so they have maybe not as clinical as maybe some of the other students, and they have started their own nonprofit organizations, gone into mentoring. We have students actually are the counselor that is on staff for Columbia is a graduate of our program, Janae Means. And so she has a private practice, and then she's also the on-site counselor for Columbia. I know students in general have gone into like adjuncting. I mean, so there's so much that you can do, and I'm sure Dr. Jordan and Dr. Czerny can add things that maybe I didn't go over. But what I will say is it's definitely not limiting. You can create kind of what you want it to look like. I've worked in all different fields. I consider myself a grassroots community person, and so I did that for about 10 years. I was over programs at the YWCA in my hometown. I've worked at different community organizations. So, I think that you definitely have a lot of diversity as far as like what you can do with this degree. So don't at all feel limited with this degree.
Yeah, I would echo all of that. I would say the vast majority of our grads go on to get licensed as clinical mental health counselors or school counselors and work as such. And there is a lot that you can do with that type of a licensure. We have students who lead workshops, and where their professional identity goes beyond just one-on-one counseling, and also that sort of community-based action and giving back to our local communities is something that we try to model and encourage in our students and help facilitate ways for them to do that. Courses, they really do match what KCREP requires, but in your first semester, you would likely take a counseling theories course to give you sort of that overarching framework for thinking about our field and work with clients. You'd take an ethics class, which again is really primary. We try to prep you early with classes that really give you a clear sense of what this field is, of what you're getting into. We want you to feel informed and like you know what you're committing to. And then moving through the program, there also pretty early is a basic techniques class and then an advanced techniques class later, before then moving into your field placement courses, which are also very skills-based courses. There's a group counseling class, let's see, diagnosis, what else? Career counseling, diversity issues in counseling is a big one that we try to integrate a focus on anti-racism and diversity across all of our courses. That's a really big value for the faculty in our program across all 3 campuses. That's been, I would even say, heightened over the past 6 months. What else am I missing? Crisis.
Addictions.
Couples and family is a required class. Even if you don't plan to work with couples and families, there will be couples and families around the individuals you work with, so it's still really useful. A development class. Yeah, go ahead, Dr. Robin.
Jordan. And I'll just add to that, those are required classes. I don't know that's what you guys were asking about, but we will have very exciting electives that you can choose from when time comes. And so Dr. Jordan teaches a human sexuality class that students seem to really love, and Dr. Czerny, you've done trauma. Has taught a trauma course. Another professor, Dr. Swindle, will touch on spirituality. We've had different wellness courses. We might have adjuncts come in and teach different. So, I mean, you definitely, and one thing that, that we do, I know Dr. Jordan, you guys do that in Asheville. It just really kind of survey the electives that people are interested in. So, we definitely appreciate students just kind of like their thoughts and opinions on different things. So if a student says, hey, I would really like to take a class on this. And, that doesn't always mean that we're able to do it, but we definitely try, as far as like those electives are concerned. So you have a wide range of classes you can take.
We have had somatic-based electives at the Asheville campus, yes. Both a mindfulness one, and then one that we've had a lot. Trent Codd has offered a third wave CBT class a number of times, which isn't specifically somatic, but offers some of that. And then we've had a somatic elective before, and it's been a while, so I imagine it'll be coming back around again here pretty soon. That's a really common question in Asheville. Go figure. We don't have official additional certifications yet, but that's something the faculty are excited about. We've got some ideas around that, but not yet.
Hi, this is Rebecca. I wanted to ask a question. I was wondering if one or two of the professors could share, or all of you, what personality characteristics you think are required or help someone thrive in the field of counseling?
Oh, I love that question. Dr. Czerny, do you want to start? I feel like yeah.
I can start talking about that a little bit. I don't think there's a type, to be honest with you. I think probably the number one requirement is that you have a heart for this type of work, and that my experience is that most people are called to do this kind of work in some way. So they feel drawn to it either because their own life experiences have made them aware of how really important therapy can be and how helpful it can be. And it may not be that they themselves have experienced it, but maybe a loved one has. And so they kind of get this, like I'm drawn to this field kind of way of coming into it. But that doesn't always have to happen either. I mean, it could just be that you really, really like the idea of psychology, or how the mind works, or how personalities develop, or any of the, things that kind of play into doing this type of work. But that desire to be a helper is probably at the core of this. The other thing that I think plays into it is an openness maybe to doing your own work and having an awareness, and a lot of that happens as a part of our program. We really push that aspect of self-awareness and personal growth. And so if you are coming into this field thinking, I've arrived and I'm good, we're going to challenge that in you. So being open to a transformative experience and your own personal growth journey, I think, is really, really important in order to be successful in this field. And then the last piece that probably plays into it, and then I'll let Dr. Robinson and Dr. Jordan say a little bit more about it. The last piece is just self-care, like knowing really well how you expend energy and what it takes for you to replenish, and how you add yourself into the mix of people that you care for, is really important. So a kind of openness and a willingness to embrace all of that is pretty necessary, I would say. But fundamentally, I think the biggest thing is just kind of keeping your heart open to the journey and the growth that is a part of this journey. You will enter this program and this field as one person, and you will leave it having been transformed. That doesn't mean we want to foundationally change who you are, but there's no way to go through a program like this where you are, when you graduate, you are going to be the instrument in the room that affects change in another person. There's no way to go through this learning journey without having some really powerful change in your own being and kind of having a paradigm shift around how you see yourself in the world. And so if those kinds of things excite you, I think it's always funny, because I think in the beginning students are like, yes, that sounds amazing. And then when in the middle of it, they're kind of like, oh my gosh, I didn't know this is what it was going to be. This feels like a lot. But trust us, this is a really rewarding field. And I think you'll find that if you feel that calling, if you feel like this is where I think I was meant to be, you're gonna come out of this journey really with your feet on the ground and feeling like, wow, what an experience. And we as faculty members get really excited about being a part of that for all of you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Anybody? Oh, yeah. About anything?
That was a great answer, Dr. Czerny.
Yeah, it really was. Yeah, I'm still thinking about it. So, yeah.
I have a question. And I know we kind of touched on this earlier, but I just wanted some clarity around it. Obviously, the school is a religious institution, but would you say that the counseling degree is from a kind of a Christian standpoint, or is it pretty, clinical in its approach?
It is clinical in its approach. We do have students who identify with a Christian perspective, and we work with those students to figure out how to balance the identities and how to ethically offer Christian counseling. That certainly can be done through our program, and it is not, I would not call that a focus of our program at all. Only if a student is really looking for that, would that be something that we would work with them to create for them. But the program itself is generalist and clinical. Yep.
And then one more question for you. I'm personally, I'm very interested in doing more of a private practice route. Mm-hmm. Do you typically have students that go through the program and do sort of a private practice after?
Yes, and so we actually really encourage our students to do agency work in practicum and internship experiences, both because it's easier to get your hours that way as a student, and to be successful, and because we want students to recognize how helpful it is to be surrounded by a community of other counselors and mental health professionals and have that networking and support built in. And we do encourage that even after graduation, for the same reasons, that it's helpful to have that built-in support network as you're starting out. Also because a lot of agencies, at least in Asheville, offer built-in supervision toward licensure hours as part of your job if you're hired by an agency, and it's just helpful to have that built into your job. And all of that said, I will say I, as a faculty member, am constantly shocked at how many of our students are really successful in developing a private practice a lot sooner after graduation than I've seen in other communities. That's speaking about Asheville specifically. But I think I've been really impressed with many of our alums' ability to, for example, work at an agency while building their private practice clientele and sort of be doing a little bit of both until they get that private practice built up enough. And in the meantime, they're getting their network together, they're feeling really supported in a way that feels super ethical and like they have support around their self-care and their own professional development moving forward. It's really common for our students to go on to private practice, but often with some other steps along the way to help get that started. Does that answer what?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Good question.
Hey, I have a question. I was wondering if you guys are helping new counselors to kind of navigate the insurance part, like the insurance side of being a counselor, for what that kind of looks like after the program's over and getting your private practice up and running.
As far as billing and all of that.
Yeah.
It is a frequently requested elective, is around like developing your own private practice. And we've found actually, and this is me speaking for the Asheville campus specifically, but this would certainly, I think, apply across all three campuses. We've been looking into different workshops to support what you get in the program around that generalist piece that would highlight some of the things to think about in starting your own private practice. Most of our students, I would say, get that billing and working with insurance companies experience through their practicum and internship sites. That helps give them a very clear understanding of what that looks like from an agency's perspective. It's also one of the benefits, I would say, of the fact that we do bring in quite a few adjuncts to support the full-time faculty here in teaching courses. And part of why that's a gift is most, if not all of our adjuncts are doing private practice, that they're doing that clinical work full-time and teaching part-time, as opposed to the full-time faculty who are doing the opposite. And so they're also able to give you a more up-to-date, like, run on how that looks. So yes, we do offer support, and we're always open to additional ways of providing that.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah, good question.
And I just want to add to that, that, you know, we're big on like mentorship and how we all recognize how important mentorship is. And so even if, you know, while, okay, maybe you weren't able to go to a workshop, which, you know, they went into a lot of detail about insurance and things like that, I'm always encouraging students to find mentors, to find someone, whether, and it could be faculty, but just find someone who is doing the kind of work that you want to do, or that has done the kind of work that you want to do. You see yourself doing, a population you see yourself working with, you know, and really try to develop that mentorship relationship, because that can be really helpful. Another area, and this is more towards when you're, you know, done with the program or when you're getting close to graduating, is like supervision. So everybody had, no matter whether you're in North Carolina or South Carolina, you have to, of course, have supervision for internship and practicum, which Dr. Jordan touched on. But when you're going for licensure, you have to have supervision as well. You know, so you will definitely get a lot of opportunities to learn more about that, whether it's through mentorship, whether it's through trainings and workshops in our program, or whether it's through the supervision that you'll get as a student and as an associate licensed professional counselor.
Cool, thank you.
Okay. Well, it is getting close to 1 o'clock. And so I don't want to cut anybody short of asking these really great questions to our faculty, but just for the sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and kind of go into our admission requirements, the application process. And I know some of you had some questions regarding that. I think Jan's been answering some of those, but just want to take a second to thank each of our faculty for being on the session today. If you didn't get the opportunity to ask a question, or, you know, maybe you're sitting in bed and thinking about it and you have a question that pops in your mind that you would like to ask but didn't get the opportunity to, I will give each of their contact information to you. So whether you're interested in Hickory, Asheville, or Columbia, please feel free to reach out to them. They are, as you can tell, just wonderful to work with and have really great information and knowledge to provide to you about the counseling program, so and the counseling profession itself. So again, I'll provide that contact information, but thank you, Dr. Robinson, Dr. Czerny, and Dr. Jordan for being with us and providing this information to our prospective students. And so if you are on here and don't have a whole lot of questions, or maybe you've heard Jan and I's admissions spiel already, you're welcome to tune out or, you know, pop out if you need to. But again, I'm going to go into that information and try to make it pretty quick since it is 1 o'clock. But feel free to kind of tune into what you need and then leave as you need as well, because I just want to be respectful of your time. But again, thank you to our faculty for joining us.
Thanks, y'all. Be in touch if you come up with other questions.
Yeah.
Good to meet you all.
Thanks, Myra.
Okay. Alrighty. So I do have a PowerPoint. I think it's always helpful to have some sort of visual, but I will be glad to provide this PowerPoint, email this PowerPoint out to you if you need it. And like I said, I'll try to be pretty quick. I won't go over every little thing because a lot of that was already covered. But if you have questions, again, please feel free to keep chatting Jan. She'll kind of answer as we go. And then also at the end, we'll certainly open it up to where you can ask questions. And then feel free to, I mean, if I'm going over something and you want to ask, just feel free to unmute yourself and ask that question. I'm just going to share my screen real quick. Okay. So Jan, are you seeing the PowerPoint slide? Yes? Okay. All right, just making sure. I always tell people I have 3 different screens in front of me, so sometimes I get fearful that I'm not on the right one, but okay. So this is just a little overview about Lenoir-Rhyne. I think that we did a pretty good job of kind of going over, you know, what we embody as a university here, and particularly with our counseling program, what the kind of education that you'll be receiving through us. But we are a small private liberal arts institution. Main campus is located in Hickory, North Carolina, which is kind of at the foothills of the mountains if you're not familiar. But again, like we mentioned, we offer a variety of graduate programs across 3 different campuses, so Asheville and Columbia as well. But this is just kind of our mission statement and our vision. I'll send this PowerPoint, so if you want to read that more in depth, you're welcome to. One of the things that I love to do on campus open houses when we were, you know, able to meet before COVID was really get an idea of, you know, why each of you are interested in pursuing graduate school. I really like to have that conversation because it's interesting to learn about, you know, whether or not you want to pursue graduate school, because that's really the requirement you have to do, which for counseling students, that's the case. But also there's several other reasons why students pursue grad school. Certainly increased earning potential. I loved the fact that Dr. Czerny stated, you know, the person that you are when you start your grad program and the person that you'll be when you finish are not 2 different people, but you grow so much in your grad program in terms of developing your mind, deepening your knowledge, learning to think critically. And graduate school is a challenge. It is a challenge and something that, you know, is going to take a good priority in your life when you get started. And so learning how to adjust to that is a challenge in itself, but it is certainly well worthwhile once you get through it. So these are all reasons why we pursue graduate school, or we found that students pursue graduate school, and certainly have been true for myself as a graduate student as well. We kind of went over this information already. Again, our campus locations, average class size, I would say, is about 15 to 20 students. Counseling is one of our larger grad programs here at Lenoir-Rhyne and is increasing. I don't know if it's because mental health is becoming more, it's not as stigmatized. There's becoming more awareness around mental health nowadays, which is great, a great transition and great to see that movement going forward. But our counseling programs are growing. So usually in the fall, we have our largest enrollment cycle, to where you might have upwards of 20 to 25 students, I would say, on average in your classes. But here at LR, we do try to keep your class sizes to a small limit. And I think that is one of the big benefits of being a smaller institution. You have the opportunity to meet the other students in your classes. You know them by name, you know their background information, because you know you really get to know your classmates, as well as your faculty. So you're not just a number at Lenoir-Rhyne. You get to know your faculty really well and build those connections that are going to support you during the program, and then, you know, when you're pursuing that licensure as a counselor. As I mentioned, typically grad students will take 6 to 9 credit hours a semester. 9 credit hours is considered that full-time course load for our counseling program. There have been students, I get the question, can I take more than 9? Yes, you can. Usually you'll want to get approval for that, but it's usually not recommended. It is a different structure than your undergrad, where you might have been used to taking 16, 18 hours a semester. Nine credit hours will certainly keep you busy. If you're working full time, like I had mentioned, a lot of times students will take 6 credit hours. I'll get to this point, but usually, well, I'll get to it when we get to the financial aid discussion, but if you are planning to apply for financial aid, you do have to be enrolled in at least 6 credit hours or 2 courses a semester, so just keep that in mind. These are all of our grad programs that we offer here at Lenoir-Rhyne on our Hickory, Asheville, Columbia campuses. And then as you can see, we have several online programs. So our counseling program, I do get this question of, is it a fully online program? And it is not, it's a mixture. Pre-COVID, so before COVID was a thing, we have a mixture of on-campus classes, hybrid, and some online courses you'll take. You know, with the spring semester, they have made that decision to be fully virtual, and fingers crossed in the coming semesters, we'll go back to normal. Here are some just highlights of our campuses. So this is our Hickory campus in this blue or grayish white house. I kind of call it the dollhouse because it's very vintage looking, but that is where our graduate school is located. So our offices are right there. And if you're familiar with campus, we are located in between Loren Missions Hall and University Christian High School on campus. Most of your counseling classes, if you're here on campus, will be in the Rhyne building, which is this building to the right. Here are some highlights of the Asheville campus, which Jan can speak to, but it is certainly, like Dr. Jordan was saying, you have the views. It is located in downtown Asheville, and we are in the Chamber of Commerce building. And so definitely, you know, a great area to be in for your graduate studies. Love going to visit Asheville. And then here are some highlights of our Columbia campus. So our Health Sciences Center is our newest building on campus. And certainly accessible to all grad students in Columbia. We are partnered with our Lutheran Theological Southern Seminary there, so we share that campus with them, and it is in that, you know, that city center of Columbia, South Carolina. So certainly a lot to do. It's hot in the summer there. Not to say that it's not in Asheville or Hickory, but you know, just a different feel, a different culture, but a really pretty campus in itself too. We kind of went over the schedule. If you have questions about that, I'll be happy to elaborate a little bit more, but again, your classes are going to be offered typically in the evenings. In the summer, there's sometimes classes that are offered in a different way. So we have intensive courses. So for example, I took a course in the summer and I had class for each day for a week, and then I had a month to finish my project. So it was an intensive course, but a little bit different as far as the class times that you would be meeting. But typically in the spring and the fall, if you're meeting face-to-face or in a synchronous format, a hybrid, you'll have class in the evenings, usually after 5 o'clock, 5:30, to help accommodate for students who are working during the day. So the application process, like I had mentioned, a lot of you might be in different stages of this process. But for our Columbia and Hickory campus, I'm working with you through your application, and Jan is working with our Asheville students. So we always encourage you to please reach out to us if you have any questions about the application itself. If you see something that doesn't quite look right, I will let you know that we are transitioning to a new application system this spring. And so just, you know, we're taking it day by day, but if you see something that you need fixed, don't hesitate to reach out to us, or if you have any questions. It's been a little bit of a process, but we're working through it. So just feel free to ask any questions you have. But it is an online application. You'll go in and create your application account, choose which campus you're applying to, and then we can also waive your application fee when you apply. So normally that fee is $35, but you can use the code BEARS You can use Jan's first name, my first name, and there should be a space on your application form to put that code in. I'll go over our career admission track here in just a second, but one thing that we do have to tell students is we do need all official transcripts from previous institutions. So, and that comes from each individual institution. So if you attended a community college here and there, or if you just went all 4 years at one school, we would need all of those individual transcripts sent to Lenoir-Rhyne for your graduate admission. So those can be sent electronically or by mail to that address provided. So here are application deadlines. We call these our priority deadlines because we can work with you after this date if needed. But this is the highly suggested deadline to have your application and all of your items submitted to us for each of our admission terms. So we accept applications for fall, spring, and summer. Currently accepting applications still for spring. I saw that question in the chat box. So that priority deadline will be December 4th. So you still have a good month before that deadline approaches. But, you know, like I said, we will work with you after that if needed, but it certainly makes for a more seamless enrollment process for you on your end and us as far as getting you enrolled if you can submit your application and all of your items before then. Typically, it takes about 10 to 12 business days, if not sooner, for us to review your application, but that's kind of the timeline that we give once all of your items are submitted to us. Usually we try to do them pretty quickly because we value that quick turnaround time, and I think students appreciate that. Okay. So here are our 2 admission tracks. I think I saw a question asking if we offer some sort of career track for students that have been working and maybe making that decision to come back to school. So the answer is yes. We have a career admission track, and here are the application requirements that we have here at Lenoir-Rhyne. One thing I'll mention is currently, until further notice, we are waiving the test requirement for traditional applicants as well as our career admission track students. So that is due to COVID. So if there's one benefit that's come out of COVID, it's not having to take that GRE or MAT because I've taken both and they're not fun, and it certainly will save you a little bit of money if you don't have to take it. If you are applying to, several schools and you want to take it and send us your score, we will certainly take it. You can also upload an unofficial copy of your test report in your application if you'd like. So, but just know that we're waiving them on a case-by-case basis. The minimum GPA that we look for is a cumulative 2.7. So if your GPA falls below that, we stay case by case as far as waiving it, just because we might request that you take a test if there's parts of your application that aren't quite meeting our admission requirements, or sometimes we'll request an interview with our faculty. But that GPA we look for is a cumulative 2.7. Of course, you have to submit your application form, all of your official transcripts. So for traditional applicants, normally we would require that test requirement, but since we're waiving it, we would require 1 letter of recommendation. That can come from a faculty member, an employer, or supervisor, but that is what we would require in place of that test score. And then, of course, both tracks, we require a resume and an essay. So for that essay, we look for about 2 pages, double-spaced, and really just it's an opportunity for us to learn about you. What goals that you have for yourself, why you're applying to graduate school, why you feel like you'd be a good fit for our program here at Lenoir-Rhyne. And you can talk about any life experiences, education, work experiences that may have led you to the decision to apply. So what we have been recommending for students applying currently is to go ahead and apply through that career admission track because that will automatically waive that test requirement. and populate that you need a letter of recommendation. If you've applied already and see that you have that test requirement listed, we encourage you to reach out to Jan or myself. We'll look into your application and have that waived for you if it hasn't been done so already. That's kind of something we're working through with our new application system. Okay, and then here are all of our grad programs that offer that career admission track. So counseling is one of those. So traditionally, before COVID, these were some of the ways that our traditional applicants could have their test score waived. Normally, if they had a cumulative 3.5 or higher, we would waive that test requirement. Again, we're waiving it for the spring 2021 semester, spring 2021 semester until further notice. So for summer and fall, if you go ahead and apply, we would honor that, and we haven't been told otherwise that we're changing that requirement. And then also, if you already have a master's degree and have maintained a 3.0 GPA with that master's, then we could waive that test requirement too. If you decide to take the MAT or GRE, typically I suggest that counseling students, since you have the option to try the MAT first, it's a shorter exam and it's less expensive than the GRE. But if you decide to take the GRE, these are our minimum score requirements that we look for, and then also the school code to have your test score sent to us, and then the Miller Analogy school code as well. And you can, like I said, you're welcome to take it, and we'll certainly, take your unofficial or official scores, but just know it's going to be waived for the spring's 21 semester. And then lastly, everybody's favorite part of the discussion for pursuing grad school is cost and financial aid. So currently, our graduate tuition cost is applied by the credit hour. So for the 2020-2021 academic year, the cost per credit hour is $650 per credit hour. So if you multiply 650 times 61 credits, that will give you an estimated cost for our tuition. I will say our academic year starts in the summer of each year, so that tuition cost may change just a little bit come the summer. So if you're looking at summer or fall, we have not been given our new tuition rates, but we'll certainly send that information to you once we have that. But just know for right now, it is $650 per credit hour. Most students, as far as applying or as far as paying for graduate school, will apply for federal financial aid. And with that, students can receive up to $20,500 per academic year. And you would apply for what's called the direct unsubsidized loan to receive that amount. And that can be split between all 3 semesters if you choose to take summer classes, and certainly goes a long way as far as paying for your tuition cost. You do not have to take out that full amount, and I highly suggest only taking out as much as you need. But you would work with our financial aid office to have that loan dispersed. If you find that you need additional aid in addition to that $20,500, that's where that Graduate Plus loan comes in. So that helps bridge the gap between your cost of attendance and additional financial aid that you would be receiving. One of the things that I do have to tell our graduate applicants is there aren't really any institutional grants or scholarships that we offer here through Lenoir-Rhyne. Most of that is given to our undergraduate population. But if there are any external scholarships that we hear of or our faculty lets us know of, we send that information to you. Any bit helps. So I encourage you to definitely look into options. But as far as grants or scholarships offered through Lenoir-Rhyne, there really aren't any for our graduate students. Other options for aid, of course, there's private loan options. There are North Carolina loan options as well. So there's the North Carolina Student Assist Loan. And that is through CFNC. And so with that loan, there are no prepayment, origination, or application fees. And I just encourage students to kind of compare the interest rates and just the stipulations with those loans in comparison with the direct unsubsidized loan. But you do have to be attending a North Carolina school or be a North Carolina resident to apply for that. But then there's also this forgivable education loan for service, which is a really great opportunity for our clinical counseling students. And it's a forgivable, well, it's a loan forgiveness program essentially. So for every year that you're working for an employment shortage field, which clinical counseling falls under that category, there's certain qualifications for it. A year of your loans can be forgiven. And so I think you have to work within that employment shortage field for a number of years. You have to do that within I think the state of North Carolina, or attending a North Carolina school. So definitely something to look into though, as far as needing assistance for paying for grad school or wanting to have those loans forgiven. And we also have some information we can send out on that after this session too. I think I saw a question about grad assistantships. So despite the fact that we don't really have any grants or scholarships for our grad students, if you have the flexibility in your schedule and would like to apply for a graduate assistantship, we do offer those through Lenoir-Rhyne, mainly on our Hickory campus. Right now, I think we have 1 or 2 positions in Asheville currently that are filled, but we will let you know if any more become available. But most of those become available for the fall semester and are posted on our employment webpage in late, I would say early to late June. They are basically, it's kind of like work study. So you would be working for a department on campus about 20 hours a week, and you would receive, currently the rate is 15 hours of tuition remission per year. So most grad assistants will do 6 hours in the fall, 6 in the spring, and 3 in the summer. And so that does help cover a significant amount of your tuition cost, especially if you're only taking 6 credit hours a semester. Again, we have them for different departments on our Hickory campus. So we have 2 grad assistants. One is with us today, Melvin. He is our grad assistant in our office here. Undergrad admissions, the library, counseling services, disability services, they all have grad assistants. Which ones become available from year to year, it depends on who's graduating and how those are being filtered out. But you're usually any that become available are posted in the month of June for the fall, sometimes in December for the spring. We do have a tuition discount program. So if you're a current LR student, you will get and graduate through Lenoir-Rhyne, you will get an alumni advantage discount. So that could be 10, 15, or 20% based on the amount of credit hours that you've completed through Lenoir-Rhyne. And then we have our LR Partners program. So this is really a program that we've been trying to grow significantly over the past couple of years. And so we are partnered with businesses, agencies, school systems in the Columbia, Hickory, and Asheville areas. So feel free to reach out to Jan or myself if you think you might be partnered with us. And so how that program goes is the more employees from that business that we're partnered with and we've established that partnership with, those employees will receive a tuition discount. So the more employees that come through our program, the higher the tuition rate or the tuition discount rate. So that could be a 10, 15, or 20% discount. If we are not partnered with you, we would love to be or love to have that conversation. So if you are currently an employee at a business or school system and are interested in that program, we can connect you with Susie Chandler, who is our partners representative. Okay, and then lastly, here's just some follow-up information about applying for federal aid. Just know you don't have to apply for financial aid. Some students do pay out of pocket, and there's payment plans that you can apply for through our business office. And so, you know, certainly if you don't feel like you need to take out financial aid and can kind of pay as you go, that's definitely an option as well. But you would file your FAFSA. Some of you might be familiar with that process. Here's our LR school code and then the current interest rate for that. If you are applying for federal aid for the spring, you would apply for the 2020-2021 semester. And then if you starting in the summer or fall, you would file your 21-2022 FAFSA. So just keep that in mind. And then here are some of those counseling program highlights. And then here's our contact information. So if you have any questions, there is Dr. Czerny, Dr. Jordan, and Dr. Robinson's information for each of our campuses, as well as myself and then Jan's information if you have any questions or need that contact. Okay, that was a lot. I threw a lot at you. I think Jan's been typing and hopefully answering some questions in the chat. But at this point, I really appreciate, I know we went over slightly with our time. Really, we need to schedule it further out, I think. But y'all had some really great questions for our faculty, so I'm glad you got the opportunity to ask those. But I will open it up at this point. If you have any questions about the information we discussed, feel free to, I know it's, again, a little awkward to speak up, but feel free to unmute yourself and ask. Or you're welcome to chat, but we'll stick around for any other questions that y'all have.
Thanks, Nicole. That's great. And I have been just typing furiously, trying to, you know, keep up with the questions, but they are really good questions. So yeah. Anything anybody can think of, or just, yeah.
I just wanted to get clarification. When you're going through that admission application process, do you already have to have your plan solidified of how you're going to pay for it, or can you be putting in these applications with financial aid and your workplace and all of that after the application has been submitted?
Yeah, at any point, really and truly, but I think most people wind up applying first and just seeing if they're admitted. So yeah, but you know, we will set you up with an appointment with the financial aid counselor if you'd like. And they also do these virtual sessions as well. So yeah, but yeah, it's a good idea to talk to them because then they can tell you about some more of these programs, but also about if there's an advancement that you want to get, like on a loan. If you did take one out, you can take out $500 at the beginning of each term to help pay for your books, or if you need a new laptop or something like that. So yeah.
And most students, if you want to establish a payment plan, will do that once they've been admitted. So you would do that with our business office once you've been accepted to the program.
And the thing with the graduate school loans, and I'm not sure if most of y'all, I mean, I certainly did take out a lot of undergraduate loans. I just finished paying mine off. And so it's very different for the undergraduate than it would be for graduate school. So when you apply for graduate school loans, you're pretty much given those loans. That $20,500 is pretty much what they're going to just give to you, you know, on a platter. And so that's when you need to talk to our financial aid counselors and decide how many classes you think you'll take in the year coming up and how much you should take out of that loan. You can take out the full amount, but you don't need that full amount. You won't spend that much in 1 year, not even in, you know, maybe in 3 years. No, so 2 years, I guess. so yeah. And so just be careful with that too, because I have had some students take out the extra loan and then they'll use it for housing, which you can do. I mean, you can use it for rent, or if it's your car and transportation, but just be careful, you know, because the interest rates are not bad right now, but they're not, you don't want that following you around, you know, for the rest of your life, because it really does. Yeah. So, other questions, y'all? Anything?
I had another question. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about the forgivable education program. Like if a private practice is, like if that would be within the clinical counseling field, that would meet that requirement to get a year, like your years of the loans dropped.
Yeah. Nicole, you're not doing that program, but do you know of anybody that's doing it in Hickory?
I'm not off the top of my head. I know
Okay,
that
okay,
students have applied for it, and there's certain. I sent the link literally the other day to a student, but when you go to their site, there's just certain. To be honest, I don't have all of the ins and outs, but I know that if you're in it's different programs. So I know like nursing students, teachers. So I think it goes by technically the degree that you're earning, right, Jan? I think
it does, yeah, yeah.
So if you're in a clinical mental health counseling program, you would qualify for that.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as as far as working afterwards, I don't have all the ins and outs of that one though. Do you, Jan?
Yeah, so quite a few of our students here in Asheville are doing this, and it's almost like a lottery system. So you apply, I think it's December 1st, before the next year. You can apply retroactively too, but when you do, there's just a lottery system that's every spring, and you apply every around this time of year, around December 1st. And they'll let you know if you've been approved for the program or not. And then once you are, you would just submit your paperwork. So they are not that picky. I know that they are going to make sure that you live in North Carolina, but you can live anywhere, pretty much, wherever you get your job. And yes, some students, when you're in your internship or in your practicum, you might be offered a job, there. And of course, that would usually work. You can work for a private practice, and that does go towards your loan forgiveness. And then the only thing is that you can't start your own just yet. So you'll have to wait for that to do so many hours before you have the is it LPCA? Yeah, so you'll drop the A from the licensed professional counselor after you've done so many hours, in the real world of employment, not just your practicum and your internship. But yeah, and they're very, very nice too. So if you ever call, I think we've got that contact information somewhere. But yeah, if you just go to cfnc.org or do FELS, F-E-L-S, that's the Forgivable Education Loan Service. And so they're always really nice and friendly, of course, because they're North Carolinians, right? But then they're all just there to help. So yeah. Okay,
great, thank you. Yeah.
Sure. And I have some students too. So if you would really like to talk to somebody who's going through this, system right now, or has already been a recipient of some of that loan forgiveness, like with one of our graduates, y'all just let me know, and I'll find somebody to give y'all a call or send you an email about it. So yeah.
Oh, I sent that to you privately. Hold on.
Oh.
I had the link. I had just sent this link to there you go, to somebody. So
thank you. Got it.
Also, I was going to say, if you are thinking of both programs, and if you are a North Carolinian, and you don't have to be now, you can move to North Carolina, at any point. And so it's from that point that you don't have to live here for a year to establish that residency. You just have to promise that you're going to take your program, which you are in North Carolina, and that you're going to stay here and work for a few years afterwards. But if you're going to do both programs, I would just say start out with the clinical mental health counseling program, just because that would be loan forgiveness. And we never know, but we used to, with this program, it did cover school counselors. I guess right now there's not the perception that they have a shortage of school counselors in North Carolina. I can't imagine that they don't, because I feel like they do. But especially with this pandemic, I feel like there's just going to be an increase in those jobs. So I am hopeful that when things settle down politically here in North Carolina, that they'll approve that for school counselors again. So keep an eye on it, because that changes every year, as does the interest rate on your loans. And so every year they'll just make a decision about that. So was that about as clear as mud? Sorry.
I had a question. I know things are kind of weird with COVID right now, but are there any options for housing, or is that kind of like individually up to like each person to kind of like figure out?
Yeah, for Asheville, for sure. We do have some suggestions. We have a little guide that we give to people who are just moving to the Asheville area with recommendations. And you can also post if you're looking for a roommate, then we have a Facebook page that all of our counseling students will go to, or all of our Asheville students. But yeah, it is, I would think Hickory housing is a little bit easier to come by. Asheville is a little difficult at the moment. And then Columbia, I would think they would have a good option really close by.
Hickory, we've kind of established more graduate housing here on campus, so that is an option. We have some information that I'll be happy to send anybody who wants that for the Hickory area. I'll just be honest and say a lot of our grad students will get apartment style housing versus going through our housing, here on campus. The cost of living in Hickory is right now it's not too bad. And there's different, I guess, I'm losing my train of thought as far as the word, but how much you rent? Oh my gosh, rent. So rent cost, as far as how expensive that would be, it can vary. There's really nice apartments in the area, and in the Hickory area, at least, I've seen new apartment complexes coming up a lot lately. But there are some on-campus graduate housing options too that I can send to anybody who would like that information.
And if any of y'all are applying for the spring, just know that it's going to be virtual in the spring. That's almost a certainty. And I would suspect in the summer as well, because even if we have a vaccine, it's probably not going to be administered until later in the summer. So I would think that so you can be wherever you'd like in the world, really, for probably the next 2 terms. so yeah, there's a flexibility there for sure. So yeah. Good question. Any others, y'all? Anything else? Like about the essays, or just enrollment related, or recommendation questions? Trying to think. Everyone's good on the admission tracks, right? So just everyone's basically, we're just going to waive that test score for all of y'all in the counseling program because you're looking into this nice and early. So yeah.
I just want to clarify, like, if that changes I'm thinking about applying for next summer or fall. Mm-hmm. If that requirement changes back to, we're
honoring it now. So I'm just kind of encouraging everybody who's thinking of the summer or the fall, go ahead and just apply as soon as you can, because we're honoring it now. And so you'll sort of be grandfathered in if we start requiring that again of everybody. So.
Okay.
And your application doesn't have to be completed all in one sitting.
Yeah.
So really that's just
that
first step is just completing the application form, which is just your background information, education, that kind of thing. And then once you submit that application form, then you'll see where you can upload your resume and essay once you've gotten those items completed. So you can upload those as you need.
Okay, so you're saying you could submit the first part of the application right now and then like complete it even into next year wouldn't be a problem.
Absolutely.
And y'all will still honor the
Yeah.
no GRE requirement. Okay.
You've got it, exactly. And because we know some of y'all are still in school, and so we'll need to get final transcripts and things, and others just want to take your time. You know, you might want to visit the campus or have some more conversations with the faculty before you delve into your personal statements and essay. You might just want to learn more about the program. So yeah, the resume too just needs to be updated, but then recommendation, you can send in as many as you would like, but that's, you know, apart from the transcripts, those are the things that are kind of easier for y'all to control and submit when you want to, and you can upload them to your application at any point. You can always log back in and out of your application. So, in theory, so we've got the new application, but I think it works that way, right, Nichole? Mm-hmm. So yeah, you can log back in and change things if you want to. So yeah. And so anything else? Are y'all thinking, anybody else thinking like fall or summer, or are most of y'all thinking of the spring, or I'm just kind of curious. Yeah. So if it is for the spring, just apply as soon as you can. So yeah.
Oh, I was thinking to go in the summer or fall, but it seems doable to go ahead and do the spring. So.
Yeah, it actually might be. So, and know this too, y'all can get as far as being in your classes for this spring. And if that first week you just decide this is too much, it's just not for you, or something changes, you know, outside of your control, then you can always just, you know, come another term. You just let us know and we'll defer your admission. So, and that's very easily done. So yeah. But classes will start the week of January 19th, right after, I think it's the Martin Luther King holiday on Monday, and then we start on that Tuesday. We'll have the orientation on Thursday, January 14th at 2:30. And so for counseling students, our orientation is mandatory. So the first hour or so, we're just kind of introducing some different folks like librarians, and just letting y'all know there's a career development center or diversity and inclusion center. So there are just different perks to being a Lenoir-Rhyne student, and we'll show you how to take advantage of those. Not to mention, you know, little coupons and things that we've got. So you'll get discounts at Ben & Jerry's and things like that. So, which is very important too. But it's the last 2 hours of orientation that are very intense. And it's basically the same faculty that y'all just saw here today, and plus a couple of others. And then what y'all will do is for 2 hours, you're going to go through every square inch of the program. So they're going to outline plans of study, talk more about practicum, internships, candidacy. So lots and lots of things to kind of digest with that. So yeah, but good.
Not to scare you.
No, not to scare you at all, no. But it's good. It's just everyone starts the first day of classes feeling very, very prepared, which I think is good. So yeah.
This is kind of a unique question, maybe just to me, but I actually don't really have a really good like psychology background, because I graduated with art and my like intention is to become an art therapist. So I was thinking of like applying for fall, like next like fall 2021, just so that I can take like maybe like some psychology classes at like a local community college. Would you like recommend me to go that route, or do you think that it would just be better for me to apply in spring and just kind of go into the program as I am? Does that make sense?
It does. It's a really good question. I think it depends on how comfortable you are with the virtual classes, knowing that that's what we're going to start with in the spring. But you really don't need any kind of a psychology background. I've worked with lots of students who have a background in art or music. They want to go into music therapy. I've had pre-vet majors, you know, that are working with equine therapy. So it just depends on how comfortable you would feel starting, you know, in roughly 2 months. But it shouldn't be scary. It's just, I think in the fall, I do think we'll probably be back to some of the in-person classes. However, I do think that starting in the spring or in the summer, it's nice because it is a smaller group of people. And I think in the fall, you do start with larger classes. And so for some, you know, you that just depends on how you like to be involved in the class, if you're going to speak up and if you're, you know, comfortable doing group discussions and things like that. So, yeah.
I was a spring start. So I had graduated with my undergrad in the fall of 17 and then started in the spring. So I had jumped right into my grad program. My background is in elementary education. So I knew a little bit. I mean, they went over, of course, in my undergrad, some of the teaching theories and that kind of thing, but I didn't necessarily have a psychology math or bachelor's or a huge background in psychology. And they really get you integrated into that in your first couple classes. So you'll take counseling. One of your first classes will be counseling theories. Because that's kind of the stepping stone, and you'll use that throughout the program. So they teach you kind of right off the bat those foundations that you'll need to prepare you for the other classes that you'll take in the program. So you know, I would just hate for you to pay for community college classes, and you know, you can if you feel like you need to better prepare yourself, and it will be a different format. Like I took those classes in person before COVID, so it will be a little bit different format, but just know that we have students that apply to our program that are worked in business, and they're like, I'm not feeling fulfilled in my career right now. I really want to do counseling, and they apply and they're successful in our program. So you don't necessarily have to have that psychology background. It's helpful, but they prepare you in your first semester and give you those stepping stones.
Thank you so much. That was really helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a little daunting to think about starting so quickly when you've been sort of thinking of the fall. But yeah, I agree with Nicole. I really think I don't think taking classes like at a community college, unless you just want to, but I think if you were really wanting to prepare, then just find out from Dr. Jordan or Dr. Gray, just find out what books you're going to be needing, and you'll know all that. We could tell you all of that now for the spring classes. We know exactly which classes you'll be taking, and just start reading those books, or see if there is just a wonderful book that they recommend that you also read to kind of prepare yourself for everything. So, yeah. But we can send y'all all the list. Do you have that, Nicole, somewhere where it's just the list of the classes, if you're going to take 2 classes or if you're going to take 3 classes this spring, and then the books that will come along with that? So
I don't have a book list yet.
Okay. I can definitely add that to everything and make sure everybody gets it. So, and I can send you all the updates on the CFNC, the Fells program, and also on extra costs in the program. It's not a lot, but just little things like having insurance, I guess, later on, or there's a fee to be a part of it. I'm not sure the name of the organization. Is it just association of, I'm trying to think what it is. So like a directory, basically, saying that you're a student, and it's an organization you'll probably be a part of the rest of your counseling career, but you just have to pay. I think it's $100. And I don't know if does that cover every year, Nicole, or is it?
You do have to renew your membership, and you'll have an assignment in ethics.
Okay. Yeah.
They require you to have liability insurance as a counseling student, just to kind of cover yourself if anything were to happen, and you'll be thankful to have it. And they go over why it's important in your ethics class, but you renew that each year through the ACA. It's ACA insurance, so it's the American Counseling Association.
Excellent. Yeah. So it's not bad. So really the first costs y'all are going to have would be, there's no application fee. There's usually a $200 deposit or enrollment deposit, we will offer a reduced enrollment deposit at some point in December, probably right before the holidays and everything's closed. So just be on the lookout for that if you'd like to save a little bit of money up front. It all goes towards your tuition in the end, but if that time of year, $100 is a pretty big difference for me. I'm sure it is for everybody else as well. So yeah, you can always wait. If you're accepted anytime real soon, you can wait until I think it's December 7th or so that we're going to start. There's probably a week-long special of having it just be $100 enrollment deposit, and that's kind of it. You'll get your first bill. If you're getting a loan, those will disperse by the end of January, early February. So you'll see a bill, but nothing will be due. It just will show you, and then once your loan comes in, then that's taken care of. And if you're doing a payment plan or something else, then you do have one payment that would be due in January, and you'll just do like a 4-month payment plan. So divide it into 4s basically. So yeah. But anything else, y'all?
No, that's a lot of info.
Yeah. So,
Did you guys?
and yes, for the deposit, you can definitely wait. so yeah. We just had the deposit special for the week of the elections and then the week of Halloween, and we'll do one again. I don't know what we'll call it, just end of 2020 finally kind of a thing or something, but it'll be a special, and we'll send out just a little email, probably a text letting y'all know. So yeah. Alrighty, anything else? Yeah. No. Well, really good questions. And I really am happy to get the recording of this or a chat transcript if y'all want that too, just because there are some answers and lots of questions there. But I'm happy to also email this recording to everybody if y'all would like. So yeah, I'll do a little editing. So, yeah.
Send the PowerPoint to you.
Yeah. Nicole's PowerPoint's also really, really helpful to have too. So.
We really appreciate y'all tuning in and sticking with us for the time. I know we went over, but I hope you found it beneficial and helpful to talk with our faculty. And then it's great to meet those of you that tuned in and put a face with the name. That's been the hard thing about COVID is I enjoy being face to face and meeting our applicants and kind of having that one-on-one experience. So this is kind of the next best thing, I would say. So thank you again for taking the time out of your day to be with us. If you haven't applied already, we hope that you will. And then if you have applied, we hope that you'll continue with the application process and join us at Lenoir-Rhyne in the spring or future semesters. So, okay.
Thank you.
Well, it's good to see y'all.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good afternoon.
Yeah. Thanks again for coming. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All very good questions, weren't they? So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I'm still recording, but I'll keep the chat transcript and all that stuff. And I'm going to have to edit. Be a really big file, 2 hours. So so I'll edit and take out some of the things that we don't need. So yeah. But so is it Victoria or Kevin? Hey Kevin. So it's good to see you. Or good to see your name. I don't see you, but either one of y'all. So
yeah.
Yeah.
It's good. Sorry, I've been super busy. I had like training earlier, so I was kind of doing both of these at the same time.
No, I totally understand. Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's good to see you guys. I look like, I look bad, so I'm just gonna keep it.
No,
yeah.
It's okay. Y'all will all get your time at orientation because we ask everyone to turn on their videos for a little while at least, and so
of course,
just aim for that. So,
of course. Yeah, and that was helpful. The financial questions and answered like that really helpful too. Because I undergrad I didn't take out any loans, thankfully.
Yeah,
but but probably gonna need to soon. So
okay. Yeah. So that's great. So you'll talk to one of our financial aid counselors, and your the deposit, they're going to go ahead and give you that check to reimburse you for
Yeah.
overage. Yeah. so they just reached out to me this morning to ask about that. So just know that that's on its way too. So
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I do appreciate that. Yeah, because
Sure.
I obviously made a little mistake. So yeah.
It's okay. It happens. Believe me, a lot. So yeah.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to like also like making the student. Do I have to wait like till the middle of this month or something to like make my account, like register for classes and stuff like that? Do I have to wait a little bit?
Yeah, you have to wait. You're going to get a letter that's going to show you how to log in and create your LR email. And when you do that, that's also going to allow you to get to where you need to be to register for classes. And we've got YouTube videos and 44-page PowerPoint, with instructions to show you how to register. But we'll also be there to help you through. And we're going to do another session too for the Asheville students who are starting in the spring, and we'll go over that as well, just to make sure that you've gotten registered for your classes and everything, so that before orientation you should be all set. So
Great.
yeah.
I plan to take at least 2 classes, I think.
Good. Yeah.
To figure it out, because you guys are right there, probably a little different from undergrad.
It is very, very different, and it's a little scary, the first week or so, but then I think after that you start to get into a routine, and then you realize it's definitely doable. So, and a lot of the students are doing it with a full-time job at the same time, so I think you can handle it. Yeah, it'll be fine. So registration will begin early in December, I think, is when what we're aiming for. So.
Okay. Okay, I thought it was like mid-November. So
it was, yeah. We thought it was, and then they just changed it. Really, just very recently. So I think told a lot of y'all that it would be in this time of year actually. And normally it would be, but I think because of the pandemic and everything else, and our switching databases, we're just waiting a little bit longer. But don't worry about getting into your classes, because we know what classes you're going to want to take. And really, it's just a matter of how many classes you're going to be taking. So if you're taking 2, you'll be able to get into those classes, no problem. So
okay, great.
Yeah.
So
you don't have to worry about getting up early and scrambling to register on a certain day. Nothing like that. So, yeah.
Well, everybody was super helpful, so I appreciate you too, and I guess everybody else as well.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. Yeah.
Well, we'll stay in touch.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. I guess
we'll
I'm gonna
take
log
care.
out now.
Yeah.
You too. Thank you again.
Sure.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you guys for all that very helpful information.
Great. Sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We're
Yeah,
happy.
I'm working.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm working on my application, and I'm planning to apply for the fall of next year.
All right, that's great. Yeah. It's good. This will be nice because you can waive your test, and it's just nice and early. And, as soon as everything's in, we'll let you know the decision. So you won't have to wait very, very long to find out. So we've already accepted quite a few students already for the fall. So you'll be in good company.
Victoria, do you mind me asking which campus you're applying to?
I'm applying to the Hickory campus.
Okay, great. Well, I'm excited to be working with you. I may have already talked with you before. I know. What was your last name?
Yunt. We talked on the phone, I think, a week or 2 ago.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, it just says Victoria, so I just wanted to make sure.
I don't know why that is.
That's okay. Well, great. I'm glad that you're deciding to apply, and just feel free to reach out to me if you see any issues with your application, or if you have any questions as you're working through that.
For sure. And I think you might have already answered this question, but just to be sure, I did high school at University Christian. So I did some dual enrollment at LR that went towards my college degree. So, I mean, you guys have that transcript, access to that, right?
If it was dual enrollment and you took it through LR, you should have an LR transcript for that.
Definitely will. Yeah.
So do I need to send you guys that, or?
So any credits that you've completed through Lenoir-Rhyne, we would have that transcript on file. Yeah.
Okay. So I'll just send my other 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's a good
Alright.
question. So,
That is a good question.
but a lot of students do, they'll forget about dual enrollments or things like that. And you know, we have to have it for every place you've been, but we'll have LR, no problem. So
Okay, sounds good.
one less one to worry about.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good.
I think that was all my questions, but thank you guys again for hosting this.
Yeah,
Sure.
absolutely.
We'll have several more in the spring and in the summer, so join us anytime. It's always different questions too, so you'll get something out of each one, I promise. So yeah.
All right, thank you.
Great.
And have a good day.
Thanks, you too, Victoria.
All right, bye.
I'm gonna stop.